want to talk to you a bit about why death is important. Not just death, but gratitude. Not important to life, but important to being grounded here in the present moment. Not being too much focused on the past and what happened to you and what you would have liked to have happened or what didn't happen. Not focusing 30% of your attention on the future and what decision you might possibly have to make at some point, right? Because these things don't exist. The past, the future, it doesn't exist. All we have is right now in this present moment. And all my life, and until a week ago, I didn't really realize this. All my life, I've used gratitude and death as like grounding agents that bring me back to the present moment. And I want to share that with you, why I think that is. Because I just found this out. I told my partner about this week, and she was surprised. She's like, I didn't know this about you. And I was like, I didn't know about it me either. I didn't know it about me. And so I just want to talk to you about that. And I want you to think about what grounds you. And I'd love to hear this at the end of the video. Leave me a comment, or as you're watching, you're thinking about it. Because starting with death, whenever I reflect on someone else's passing, maybe it's someone that was close to me or that I knew about in a more than an acquaintance type of way, or if I'm seeing it on social media and I'm seeing other people grieving or mourning, or maybe I'm seeing it on the news, I start reflecting about my own mortality. And I think nothing brings me back to the present moment more than reflecting on my inevitable end. Because it's so easy to get distracted by the pleasures of life, the entertainment and conveniences, and it feels like, because existing is all you've ever known, that it's going to continue to happen. So the fact that we could die at any moment, maybe tomorrow, 5, 10, 15, 20 years out, we take it for granted. And we think we're always going to be here, always going to have time, we're always going to have opportunity. And the reality is we don't. And there's not enough times throughout our life that we're faced with death to keep us constantly grounded. So we have to use reflection in order to do that. Or at least that's been my experience. But I'd recommend you try it. Just think about it. Because when I do reflect on death, it pulls all the strings of my mental focus that are focused on other things back into me and allows me to be completely here. And the same thing happens with gratitude. When just right now, like 5 minutes ago, a guy walked right by me, and he looks like he's not living the greatest life. And he had 2 packs of cigarettes in his hand. He's like, "Hey, you want to buy some cigarettes?" I was like, "Nah, it's all right, thanks. I don't smoke." He's like, "Oh, that's great, you don't smoke. It's a really nasty habit. It's really expensive too. I spend a lot of my money on cigarettes." As he walks off into the bush that has no trails. And so when I see that, one of my first thoughts is like, man, that's rough. And then my immediate thought is, I'm grateful my life didn't lead me down that path. It didn't lead me to circumstances where I have certain vices that I can't afford, certain vices that affect my health. I'm in a position where, I'm only guessing, but he probably doesn't have a home right now. And the gratitude just pulls me back, and it makes me so thankful for my circumstance in this present moment, and it keeps me here. I was reading a story on Quora. Someone had a question on Quora. If you're not familiar with it, it's a website where you ask questions and the public can give their answers and their thoughts. And he was reflecting on how he used to be really intelligent. He said his IQ was around 150, and through a series of accidents, inevitably a stroke, his IQ dropped to what he was told is about the low 120s. So it's a 30% drop in IQ. And ignoring the fact for now that IQ isn't a great measurement of intelligence, he was reflecting on just the noticeable difference in the way he perceives life. He's reflecting and sharing how he used to be able to do a lot of complex things in his head, calculations or just thinking about different outcomes in his head. And people would comment on how he's like a walking computer. And now he's saying it's completely different. I can't work things out in my mind as much. I can't kind of predict what's going to happen before it happens. I can't notice patterns the way I used to notice patterns. And just seeing that, it's just like, man, I'm so grateful for my sanity. I'm so grateful for the bit of intelligence I have. And that gratitude, it just brings me right back to here. And and if I was focusing on what I want or I want to achieve, it's just like, no, just be grateful. Appreciate what you have right now. And I don't know about you, but it's a struggle for me sometimes to appreciate what I have in any given moment. because I have all this life and all this time. And I want the next thing. I want to be able to work my way up to live in a place where I ideally want to be. I want to work up to the point where I have enough money where I can do this other thing. I can maybe quit my job and go live in another country. And you're always seeking for different things that you don't currently have. And gratitude it brings me back. In death and gratitude, I was asking myself, why are these things so important? Let me say, I think it's things that are always there, but are never acknowledged. Death is always there. It's always around us, but it's rarely acknowledged. Gratitude, being happy and thankful for the things you have, is always there. We're always experiencing the pleasure of what we currently have, but gratitude is simply acknowledging it. My partner, her grandmother died a couple days ago, and she died on her birthday. And so that was, I think, the stimulus for this thought process I'm going through. Because we were talking about death, and I believe she was 94 years old, but she could have passed for 70. She looked great. And we were thinking about her death. We were reflecting on that, and it got me down this train of thought where I was like, time is slippery. Everyone, when they're 20, 30, 40, they think, 10 years is not that long. Being 90 years old, that's 50 years from now, 60 years from now, that's forever. That's forever from now. And it's like, no, if you take a moment to consider just how close it is, how slippery and subtle time acts and works in our life, it's like, no, it's not that far off. What are we focusing on? What's important to me? I've been spending all this time on all these things that don't really matter, that I don't even really want. And time is such a limited resource. Let me come back to the moment and put attention towards what I really want to put it towards, what's meaningful to me, what I love, what I cherish, what I enjoy, and not spend so much time focusing on the little details of our days in life that don't have any meaning. As I reflected on gratitude and why it helps ground me so much, I realized a lot of the actions I take allow me to experience gratitude in a deeper way, in a more profound way. If I go backpack into a country, it's almost always a country where their culture is different enough from mine that I can see my normal life in a new light. When I went to Thailand, and you're living amongst people, and you're traveling and seeing people that have maybe a lower quality of life, from a possession point of view or an abundance of food point of view, having to work long hours, and seeing that makes me grateful for the thing that I took for granted. The ability to have 8-10 hours a day where I can do whatever I want. I can come to a little spot next to a tree and make a video just discussing my thoughts and sharing my passions. I can have time to pursue alternative forms of income because my primary form of income doesn't constrain my mind so much that I don't have any energy or focus or time left. I have an abundance of food and the convenience where I can walk to a grocery store and just pick whatever I want, and I don't have to really think about, is it healthy? Like, is it clean? Is it going to kill me? I don't have to forage in the forest the way humankind used to do, and it just grounds me and leaves me in a state of bliss and joy, because I know everything I really need I have right now. I have right here. Not everyone can say that. But death and gratitude, it grounds me. I think for some people, just from seeing how people interact and just hearing people's stories, for some people it's looking into the eyes of their child and hearing the laughter of children. It sounds like such a cliche thing to enjoy because you hear it a lot. But I think for some people that's what it does. Looking to the eyes of a child and seeing them experience life brings them to the moment, the present moment. For some people, it's getting together with friends and socializing, and it helps ground them. It takes them out of their fears of the future and their worries about the past, or their mental focus on things that aren't so important. Gratitude and death, that's what does it for me. So I'd love to hear what it does for you. What keeps you grounded? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear that. I'd love to read your thoughts and your experiences and see what you think about this. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.